You know what, guys? It just dawned on me. I remember something that happened when somehow it was set up for a different nurse to come to my mom them house. And at first, my grandma was supposed to be getting oxycodone, but I remember the print on the back of the pill had an H or something like that. And when I looked up whatever the print was on the back, I found out it was morphine. So I remember my auntie saying something about, like, Caucasian aunt said something. She sent me an email telling well, some of my family was being investigated for morphine overdose. And then when I later confronted her about it and found out it wasn't true that we were being investigated for it, for that. I guess she said that because she may have been one of the people who hired a private investigator to fraudulently go look after me. She could have been one of the ones. Joanne Sims could have been one of the ones who signed, who had a private investigator um, after our family, or she knew some stuff about it and she didn't know how to tell me. But she not she's wicked herself, so some of the stuff she didn't did that I know of. So I don't put nothing past her. But I just want to just say this real quick because I remember one of the nurses that came over to the house to give that or whoever that bitch was, it was random and something didn't sit right in my spirit about that hoe, and I think she knew I knew something about it. She was in this burgundy Challenger. Oh my fucking god! And I don't know if, I don't think that's the same one that Anthony Tyree had, but I remember him sending me a picture of him having a burgundy Challenger as well. But I don't think, from what I remember, I don't think it was the same exact one that he had, that this nurse lady had. But I remember seeing the one that the nurse lady had, because I'm hers might have had like a tint of black on the hood and on the top or something like that. It was something kind of different about it, but it was a burgundy Challenger she had, and she was a nurse that that was sent over, and there was something fraudulent about, I don't know what it was. And I remember I just pulled my cards that I made, and it said something about nurse or some garage and something. And I remember I was in the garage, and I let the garage up so that nurse can come through the garage instead of the back, because sometimes instead of the way the house was made, if you watched my video where I say something about don't be fooled by classy neighborhoods because witches and warlocks are amongst you. I remember that lady was following me, I believe, because I saw that same Challenger. I was like, what is that Challenger doing coming down the street again around this neighborhood? And then I seen her again somewhere else parked, that same Challenger. It was the same energy behind it. So I know now for a fact that whatever happened with my grandmother and or my mom was potentially a setup, allegedly, for them to be killed. And there's malpractice involved because someone in the medical field knows about it. I remember we went to a doctor's appointment. It was meant for me to see that detective or whoever that fucking dude was with the flat top haircut, and he had his badge turned around so no one, we couldn't see who he was, but I knew he was some sort of detective because he was standing behind the woman at the computer at that doctor's office that's over there by that Winco, that is where there's a shopping area. There's a Panera Bread over there, I think. I know that there's some type of other restaurant, but I know that there's a Winco. I remember saying something about it. There's a doctor's office that's over there by the Winco, that's not too far from Barnes Road. And my grandma went to two different doctor's offices. There's one that's off Hall Boulevard, like leading with, if you're going towards, not, I think that's Pacific Highway, like in Tiger. But where that Target store is, there's a Target store in a little, like a few feet across the street from, like, if you're on that road traveling straight, there's a doctor's office over there, and he was the medicine doctor. But then they all, I think there was two different doctors she went to, but there the appointment that my grandma had, it was with a doctor named Dr. Miller. All of a sudden Dr. Miller just put my grandma on hospice, and my grandma wasn't even about to die. But that's what I want to reveal, is that be careful of some of these doctors putting people on hospice when they're not even, they haven't said anything about the patient having a disease or anything, because it's a setup that's getting ready to take place. And this is why they wanted to put me in the psychiatric hospital, because if I had time to sit back and think about and remember, they know how my memory is, I would remember some things that were out of place and potentially expose them. So I don't know if they did get any sort of money, but I was wondering how the fuck was my family going on all these trips and shit, and they allegedly wasn't making money like that, at least seemingly. Now it makes sense how all of a sudden they was getting cars and shit. And I was like, y'all motherfuckers is using somebody else money or something, because it just didn't seem right, because the way it was set up, I was supposed to be made to seem like I wasn't worth getting anything. It just, something wasn't right. Even when we went to the Royal Moore plate car dealership down the street, this fat ugly white bald headed bitch ass nigga, that's probably the fat white bald headed man who stole my cards and stuff, because there was this man named Darnell Ross who came to me. He told me, he was like, was it a man that was bald headed and white? I'm like, how the fuck you know? I don't even know who you are, and you're telling me information about me that's 3 years old. So now I'm starting to make the connection, like these people were doing fraudulent shit. So the office where Dr. Miller was working at, that office need to be investigated for malpractice, and whatever fraudulent ass fucking detective and cop they had working there, whoever the fuck that white man was with the flat top haircut, and he had a white shirt, button up shirt, and his badge was turned backwards so that nobody could see his name or the agency he worked with, 555. And I just remembered this, and I was like, nothing, things didn't start to shift until that nurse that had the burgundy Challenger came over to the house that day. And this all happened around the 13th. My grandma passed away on the 13th of February 2022. So and then my mom passed away a month and a half, or a month later, or a month and a half later after my grandma did. So that means somebody needed. I almost wanted to say my stepdad's name, but like I'm kind of pissed off because y'all niggas was doing the same shit that Anthony Tyree did when I was telling them about some of the stuff I was going through and what happened. They was all like, "Oh, I don't want to hear that. Oh, I ain't got time for that." The ones that did that, they were the ones who knew some shit about the shit that was going on, and they didn't want me to know, and I was exposing it, and they hated it. That's why they've been coming after me, attempted poisonings. There's other things that happened to me, but I'm just not going into detail about it right now. But it started dawning on me because I'm also supposed to be revealing something else about Dubai, and that has something to do with a vision I had about a doctor and a celebrity and some hookup that they have. But all of a sudden it dawned on me, I believe that what happened was a sacrifice, and the individuals that I listed here are in this video, they all know something about it. So if a detective is looking for those, what there's a connection between that information I just provided, and I'm very sure about what I'm saying here. Like there's some things that are kind of missing. I don't want to make this video too long. I'm gonna go ahead and put it up.